now there are some days after spending X amount of hours at work or having a long day at work and juggling so many things all at once, sometimes you wonder, it couldn't be any worse, right? Sometimes you think to yourself, this day could not be any worse. But then you pause and think and realize, you know what, it could be worse. It could be worse because there are some people that work in certain environments, in certain conditions that are deplorable. So even if they enjoy or would enjoy the job that they have, the position that they hold, because of the conditions, because of the people that they're around, it makes the environment unbearable, right? So sometimes you really have to take a step back and really appreciate the people that you work with, right? Really appreciate the fact that the day could have been worse. No matter how bad it was, it could have been worse if you were working with certain quality of people. Because depending on, in any workplace, that's in any job, right? The quality of the environment, the quality of people that you're working with, your colleagues, co-workers, determines the quality of experience you're going to have. Point blank, period. That's why you could have the same exact position in two different companies, in two different workplaces, and the same exact type of person working those positions. One person is thriving while the other one is suffering and ready to quit. Why is that? It's the environment. It's the working conditions. It's people, the people that you're surrounded with, the people that you spend your day with. Okay? By with, we're just saying you interact with them, you depend on them to some degree. They depend on you as well to some extent, right? Depending on your role, your position, your activities, tasks that you have to fulfill, duties that you have to duties and responsibilities that you have to fulfill. So it's a give and take. It's a leaning on each other for different things. So if and we're talking on paper, we're talking 40 hours a week, but we know it's not 40. I mean, let's be honest. We're past 40. We've been past 40, right? So when you spend days and weeks and months, hours upon hours, interacting with and dealing with your coworkers, yes, the work may be hard, the job that you do may be hard, but what makes it really difficult when you think about it in many spaces is your actual co-workers, your colleagues, right? So you should really be grateful. You should really be grateful when, no matter how hard the day was, when you can think back and look back, and of course you might have your moments here and there. Everybody's, people are human. We have our days. But if at the end of the day you can genuinely say that you have a good work culture, you have good, solid colleagues that you can count on you, that you can count on. It's a give and take. It's a back and forth in a good way, that is. Okay? It's a share. There's a collaborative effort. There's a camaraderie there. There's even in the worst, even on the worst days, there's exchange. There is this feeling of lightness. There's an openness. There's a sharing. There's a leaning on each other. Okay, that doesn't mean open up your heart and pour out. No. It doesn't mean that. It is a work. It is a work environment at the end of the day. But within the context of work, you should be able to express yourself, right? You should be able to exchange with colleagues within the context of work. So when you have that, do not take it for granted. That's what people do, in any area, both personal and in the work setting. People can make or break an experience. Let's be real. You can have the best job in the world with beautiful salary and all types of perks and things like that. At the end of the day, your daily experience will determine whether or not you stay on that job. Okay? Whether you end up quitting or it pushes you out, like one way or another, your daily experience, your everyday interaction, that's why people that are in your life, people that surround you on a day-to-day basis, that matters. Okay? Stop acting like, oh, I'm not affected. What are you, a box? Of course you're affected. You can pretend for a second or two, but you're not fooling anyone. Let's be honest. Like, you're not fooling anybody. You can be, somewhat of a strong person and just kind of like be guarded and, talk about, I'm not going to let people in. Okay. But the reality is that's going to seep through anyways. What you go to, who you go to work with, what you go to see at work, experience at work, that's going to affect you directly or indirectly, whether you feel it or not, whether you admit it or not. Okay? Because sometimes it's in your face, you just don't want to accept the truth. Okay? So if you have a good work culture, if you have, not perfect, because you're not perfect, right? But good, decent people that you're sharing this work experience with. If you have colleagues who, if something happens, they have your back. If you have colleagues that, in the event of anything, you can call them and share. That doesn't mean, again, don't be a pest. That doesn't mean bother them every day. You should be competent. You should know your stuff. But in general, okay? In general, you can call them and tell them a thing or two, and then they can have your back, or they can cover for you in one way or another. Okay? If you work in an environment where that's another thing. There's no drama. People literally, they just come in, they focus on their work, they do their best for the day. They're cordial, they're respectful. They give you a hand if you need it, you give them a hand if they need it. Okay? And they leave. But there's no drama. There's no noise, no busybodies, like people looking for things, trying to throw people under the bus. It's not that. People are focused on their job. That's it. And some people, sometimes if you're a toxic person, you find that boring, and you find that, oh, you don't do anything. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Your job. Okay, stop looking for problems where there are none. The work itself is a problem. The job itself is already it's enough problems that we have enough problems to deal with. That's literally what we do. We come in and we fight issues, we deal with problems, we solve problems, we put out fires. It's like that's literally what we do a day in and day out. Why are you looking for more things? What's wrong with you? Okay? That's how you know somebody is toxic. Because they have to add something to it to make, to stir the pot. Stay away from these people. Okay? If your workplace is quiet, with people that are just genuinely just trying to do a good job for the day, for themselves first and foremost, and just be a decent human being, okay? And they're not starting stuff like they're very approachable, okay, respectful, even in the middle of a hectic day. They're not so busy that they can't greet you or give you a nice gesture or something like that, or lend a hand. You should be grateful for that, right? Because the opposite could be true. The opposite could be true. There are people clocking in and out of toxic workplaces. And of course, you add value to the place as well. It's not just one-sided, right? Everyone contributes that positive energy. So don't underestimate what that does for you. Even on a hard day, keep that in mind. Even on a hard day, there is still something to be grateful for. There is still something to celebrate. Celebrate colleagues. Celebrate the goodness that they share, right? Celebrate their talent. Celebrate their competence. Celebrate the camaraderie that you have. Celebrate the peace that's in the workplace. You know what I mean? Celebrate the fact that people are focused on their job, and that's. Celebrate the fact that people want to do a good job. They want to succeed for the day, right? They're not out here starting things that don't exist. They're not out here picking on people looking for problems. They're just focused. And so are you, right? And that's the type of environment where people can really move forward. Okay? That's the type of environment where even on the hardest days, you can still say, you know what, it wasn't that bad, because it could have been worse. It could have been worse. When you're dealing with people that don't support you, when you're dealing with people that are out to get you, or that are out here just setting traps for people unnecessarily. Yeah. Now then that's when you can say that's what makes it a hard day, because now you have to look, not just do your job, but now you have to look over your shoulder to the right, to the left all the time. Be paranoid about who you're working with, like what you're dealing with on a daily basis. But if people are genuinely there and then genuinely want to do the right thing, yeah, you may not agree on everything, but you know what? That's life. That's life. At the end of the day, it could have been worse. And it's not. It's actually, you could say it's actually a good day.